Hey, practice management is dead. Why? Because they're focused on patient education and not psychology. What's this mean? Okay, most all chiropractors, including myself, for the first 11 of the 15 years, we're focused on patient education. People say, hey, how's your patient education system working? Well, the words alone, patient education, implies we're giving information and we hope as a strategy that common sense and information changes their mindset and then they become a lifetime patient. And that's how it feels, right? Because sometimes, and we do the same thing with every person. We send them through this patient education system and we say the same thing to everybody. And then some people get it and some people don't. And it's very frustrating. So how's that been working? I mean, we in 125 years, we haven't even reached the tipping point. So I thought the tipping point was about 16 to 18%. And so I looked it up and I see that research shows the tipping point can be as low as 10% and as high as 25%. So if we haven't even reached the tipping point, we haven't even in 125 years converted 10% of the American public into understanding that chiropractic is a healthcare system. That's frustrating. So my question is, how long are we going to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result? What's that called? Begins with an I and sounds like freaking insanity, right? Did we come here to chiropractic? That's a message for humanity. Did we come in this body to be chiropractors with a message that can change humanity, to keep using a strategy that's only progressing in decimals of percentages? It's not even 0.1% a year. I mean, it's not even 0.1% a decade. I mean, it's like a whole percent in a century. So maybe we should do something different. That's all I'm saying. So, hey, I'm Dr. Fred, founder of Elite Coaching. And what I found was the first 11 years that I practiced, I had 4 coaching groups. And they taught me scripts and here's your patient education system and just follow that. And then the problem was, like all of you, we're principled chiropractors. We want to know why, right? We're chiropractors. We want to know why. We just don't accept the status quo. And so I wanted to know, why did one person commit to start care versus why did another person not even start care versus another patient that started care and quit, halfway through the program where symptoms gone or maybe a little longer, versus another type of patient that went all the way through. They just got it, man. They just got it and they went into lifetime care. Why? And I would ask all 4 of those coaches, why? Well, get your scripts down. I'm doing the scripts. I got them down verbatim. And then one day I asked myself the question, Tony Robbins, power of your life depending on the power of the questions you ask yourself. So this was the first question. Why am I saying the same thing to every person and some people get it and some people don't? And then it hit me. That's the problem. I'm saying the same thing to every person. Then the next question was, how do I get patients, a high level, 90% or more of patients, to understand chiropractic like I do? Because if they did, they would live it. There would be no question. And your practice certainly wouldn't dip in a pandemic, okay, which is what the world we're into today. And so I started looking around to coaches, couldn't find a coach that taught any psychology. So I went outside of chiropractic, and this was back in the 90s, and I started studying human behavior. I started studying life coaching and NLP and how people make life-changing decisions, starting from world influencers. Started studying marketing, because marketing isn't advertising. Marketing is changing beliefs. So how do we change belief systems? And what I found when I started incorporating all that, man, my practice went through the roof. No advertising, no talks, no nothing. Referrals, people were bringing their families. And it was so remarkable. In 5 months after starting the 11th year, I had the biggest growth spurt that we ever had. I mean, I never had a decent practice. I was busting my ass, 120 a day to 220 a day. We added 100 people a day in 5 months without 1 second of going outside the practice, not 1 minute of going outside our office hours. And then I thought, Man, I got to start teaching chiropractors. So I started teaching my personal friends. They started growing. Then I formed a coaching group. Then they started growing. Then I formed the boot camps and they started growing. Now it's been 23 years of fast-paced, hardcore human behavior study. We have elite coaching in what is now psychology of creating a lifestyle culture. And here's what I discovered. Lifestyle, lifetime is a condition, right? People can go for a lifetime, use chiropractic like pain care. Lifestyle is a mindset. And then I learned lifestyle and mindset is psychology. And here's what else I've learned in 23 years coaching hundreds of chiropractors. That human behavior is so predictable, it's robotic. It's so predictable, it's almost funny. Now, here's the thing. How do we know? Well, guess what? We're so busy on patient education, but what's Big Pharma doing? Big Pharma is using human behavior to get people hooked on drugs. How's that working? Is that working for them? The government is using human behavior to create a boatload of fear on a pandemic. So we're watching all these big organizations. Apple uses human behavior to become the most profitable culture in the history of the world. All marketing. When you watch TV commercials, all human behavior. Why the heck are chiropractors stuck on patient education when the rest of the world is using human behavior? And that's all I'm saying is, 23 years ago, I started this journey, exploded my practice, exploded other practices, and all we're doing is what the rest of the world is doing. Why is chiropractic in a bubble? Because we're using systems of patient education and patient management. We haven't even hit 10% in 125 years. Now, here's the next challenge. And really, this is it. If human behavior does that, do you understand how to use it? But now we're in a pandemic, and we are not in a viral pandemic. We're not in a viral pandemic. I mean, hey, there was all that speculation, 2.5 million people are going to die. And now the CDC comes out and says 11,000 people in America have died from February 2nd to April 11th from COVID alone. All other deaths, 54,000, all other deaths were COVID related, but not necessarily COVID primary, but the diagnosis is COVID. So CDC said that alone, primary COVID deaths, 11,000. The virus isn't near as virulent. And this is what CDC is saying. So, hey, I'm sorry if someone passed, but here's the deal. Here's the science. So anyway, we're in a psychological pandemic. And so what happened was there was fear, right? Government used psychology, people sheltered in place. Now what happens, a decision, here's human behavior, a decision made under a highly emotional condition deeply wires into their subconscious mind. So the next time they feel fear, what are they going to do? Shelter in place. How many patients do you thought, man, they're committed before the pandemic, they're committed, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, the virus, they stay at home. And you thought, God, I never thought they would do that. I know most all chiropractors are in that situation. Why? Because emotion and fear is far greater than any information you gave them. And this is a litmus test that we just went through. So here's the deal. If you don't understand psychology, then the problem is this video here is given now. I don't know what today's date is. What's today's date? Like May 7th or 8th or something. Thursday, May 8th, I think. May 7th and 2020. But we're going to hit November, December. The government is already telling us that COVID thing's coming back. The minute they go into fear, they're going to shelter again. This is human behavior. Now, not as many and not as long, but do you want your practice to be on a roller coaster? And the reason we're giving this is patient education is no longer the answer. We are dealing with a much bigger psychology than we've ever dealt with before. And the reality is that we've always dealt with this, but did you learn how to deal with it? And that's why we're talking about this now. Okay, so join the Elite Coaching Facebook group because we give these videos and information on how to deal with psychology. So just go there, put this on pause, go to Elite Coaching Facebook group, get into that now. And then we have these live trainings that we do every couple months that teach psychology. So go to there now. So my question is, do you ever want to experience that shelter in place again? And if that answer is no, then maybe you should learn psychology. So here's the quick psychology on it. Fear of survival, because that's what it was. Fear of survival. Why? Because they created an identity in the virus that was bigger than they were, right? Because media knew human behavior and said, you're going to get COVID, you're going to get pneumonia, you're going to die, you're going to be on a ventilator, then you're going to die. Okay, so people feared, oh my God, if I get that, here's what's going to happen. So, by the way, well, this is far too much information, but they're already putting coronavirus in the flu vaccination. So you hope your patients don't get vaccinated, not to even mention the danger of the vaccination of COVID, but that's it. But we won't go into that. But once they get into survival, they go into their primitive reptilian brain. When the reptilian brain, the amygdala, fight or flight, fires, you have no firing in the frontal cortex. That means they lose logic ability. So if you think you're going to change them with logic, you already saw what happened because they stayed at home. So reptilian brain, no logic, very little front lobe activity. So trying to give them information isn't going to work. They won't even hear it. So all of this sets the foundation for a communication I'm going to give you. The primary positive intent of survival is protection. So what you have to do, you're dealing with a victim. You have to validate them. Hey, I understand. You are protecting yourself because you want to protect the health and safety of your family. Is that right? Yes. Then get this default statement down. Hey, I get it because you can limit exposure to the virus, but can you eliminate exposure? Now they're going to say no, because here's the psychology. If you want them to change what they think, they have to say no to what they used to do so they can say yes to something else. They have to say no to sheltering in place. They have to say no to the news. They have to say no to the government so they can say yes to you. And because this is going to be, becoming a leader is going to be the transference of trust. Having influence, they have to trust you more than they trust the news, the government, the vaccination, all that stuff. So I'm giving you gold here. You can limit the exposure, Mr. Jones. Can you eliminate it? And they'll say no. So really, can you control the virus? And they'll say no. So the virus is out there. You can't control that, right? But what can you control? And you point. You don't have to point them on the chest. Might be a little confronting. You point on their shoulder, and they say, I can control myself. Right? You can control your bodies. Your body. And what fights the virus? Antibodies. That's right. Now there's a new science, neuroimmunology, and what system controls the immune system that makes antibodies, and you can touch their spine. See, now you're creating an experience. It's like a story. And because you're taking them through the thought process, this isn't giving them information. You're not teaching. Giving information teaches them what to think, and they're going to forget. Or you can teach them how to think in a story form. People remember 6 to 7 times more facts in a story than they do in information. Now you're creating this story you're using a story to communicate information, and you're creating an experience. It's patient experience from psychology, it's not patient education. Even though we're giving the same information, it's what we're doing that makes the difference, that rewires their brain. So I already got up to 2 no's. So what controls your immune system and makes antibodies? Your nervous system, right? So your spinal structure controls the function of your nervous system, which controls your immune system, which controls antibodies. So do you believe you've already been exposed, at least on some level? Yes. So have you gotten sick? No, that means your body's probably already making antibodies where you're fighting it. So here's another question. Powerful reframe, change their mind. Do you think you're going to experience another epidemic or pandemic in your life? The obvious answer is yes. So there's only one thing you can control and stay strong. It's the health of what? And I'd run my hand from their occiput to their spine. And they say, my spine and your nervous system. That's right. So do you want to ever feel that fear again? Now, what are they doing? They're saying no. They're moving away from that. No, I don't, ever. You'll never want to experience that. So what do you want? You want confidence, health, strength, your body to fight any disease, any virus that may be new. Would you agree? That you can make antibodies just like you are now? Yes. Okay, so where's the best place to be? And I'd point to the ground. And they'd say, right here, doc. Then I'd put my hand on their shoulder to anchor it in. And I'd say, so can I make an agreement with you? Yes, no matter what we go through, what goes on out in the world, that you and I will go through it together, or you and the team, to keep you and your family healthy and strong. No matter what virus, no matter what epidemic, that you're going to always stay strong, and we're going to go through this together. And they'll say yes. And you go, for what part of your life? And they'll say, the rest of my life. That is lifestyle mindset. And then give them a hug, pat them on the shoulder. Now that's the transference of trust. Look at the difference between that psychology and patient education, giving them pamphlets, teaching them information. Look at not what I said, but what I did. Look how we got them to certain no's, and then to certain yeses, and then to create a physical experience for them. That is just one little chip of the psychology of creating a lifestyle mindset culture where you will never have to go through another shelter in place again. And then in the system at the boot camps, hey, we teach you how to reinforce that. But this is the difference between practice management, patient education, relying always on marketing, versus shifting the mindset of people that become permanent. By the way, with that agreement, we said agree to a healthier family. By the way, when you're bringing your kids in, where's your wife? Let's walk up to the front desk and schedule them now. Now you turn 1 into 3 or 4. You're growing your practice, and all you did was get an agreement, shifted their mindset, got them out of fear of the pandemic and the virus, got them into the confidence and health of the principle of chiropractic and the relationship that you're building. And this is why practice management, patient education is obsolete. If it wasn't, if that model wasn't obsolete, then everyone in the world would already be doing this. So let's change what we're doing. Let's stop beating our head against the wall, beating the same old drum when there certainly isn't enough people listening. So are you here to build a practice, or are you here to build a movement with a message for humanity that can change the world? And that's the difference. Okay, you guys, love you. Look for more on these series. Hey, go to Elite Coaching Group, Facebook group. Like that page. You can like Dr. Fred, D. Domenico page. You can also like You Are More Powerful Than You Think page. All right, you guys, love you. Take care.